Hi, Lisa, Reverend Lisa Lee. I'm so thrilled to have you sitting at my kitchen table. Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations.
Well, thank you so much. I am totally delighted to be here.
This just thrills me. I've been so looking forward to this, and it's so hard to talk to you and ask us to stop this conversation because I want everybody to hear your potent, rich words, your heart, your spirit, your grace, and because so often when I talk to you, I'm like, gosh, I wish I had a camera on us. I wish I could be sharing this right now. I wish I weren't the only one receiving this in this moment.
Um,
And yeah, so I mean, even in preparation for our call, I said, like, stop. We can't have this conversation because you're just precious and just so graceful and
um,
to me
Thank
and my
you.
life and to the world and to your community, and a shout out to Unity Las Vegas.
Thank you so much.
I kind of thought it would be fun to share with everybody how I met you. And I
Sure.
actually met you through your husband, Reverend Jim Lee.
Hmm.
And I was with the Compassion Games, and this was many years ago when we were in Detroit. I think 2000 and the 13, 14 maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
sounds
14,
about right.
14, 15. It was before the, yeah, it was somewhere around 2014, 15. And I was with the Compassion Games, and I heard about Reverend Lee writing, doing an initiative. I think maybe you or somebody in your community reached out to me because I was the head coach of the Compassion Games at the time, and he was doing an initiative about beautifying the community and loving this place, love this place,
Right.
where
Yes.
people found a sense of love and belonging in their communities, which otherwise are missed opportunities or things we take for granted. If it's somebody's front porch or that tree you pass by every day, but to stop. And I remember that, and it just dawned on me in this moment that what was present in him in doing that, which is present in our conversations these days, and very much about the liminal odyssey and the work you're doing around liminality, and we'll talk about that. And that is noticing
Mhm.
those magical, those um, miracles that might be somebody's front porch, but bring you back to loving in your community. And and then I was in Detroit and we met, and that's when I met you. And I kind of fell in love with you then. And we didn't really get much of a chance to get to know each other. And then fast forward many years later, all these years later, just a few years ago, right before the pandemic or thereabout, I decided to go check out Unity Las Vegas because I liked the pastor from what I could see online. He looked really cool, and I thought, okay, I'll check this Unity church out. And my first meeting there was them saying that this was the pastor's last day or last Sunday. And up on the screen is the new pastor, and it was Reverend Jim and Lisa. And so you never know how paths are going to bring us together. I don't know if we'd be having this conversation if you didn't choose to come to Las Vegas. But at some point, we were talking about this later. Our souls chose us to know one another.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
our angels are high-fiving themselves right now.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful to you. I'm grateful to the Unity. And by the way, I haven't yet been to the other Unity churches. So I certainly do love being in your congregation, and yet the work you're doing in so many other arenas is just so remarkable. And I want to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to talk about liminality, and you're going to be doing a series at the church, which I'm really excited to be a part of for the month of June.
Yes, absolutely. We're in an amazing time. It's something we were talking about a few minutes ago as well. And I feel there's no accident. All of the souls that are here right now. And it is really a time that is between worlds. We have so many things that are beginning to fall apart, and the new has not come yet. And so we're discovering through curiosity, how are we to be in these times, and how do we midwife this, new way of being together on the planet. So it's a very rich time to be here.
Yeah, and when you think of it like that, when you think of, here we are as midwives, we're not victims of what's happening right now. We're not observers. We are all midwives, even those who are not contributing to the ease and grace of it, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Some are resisting it or complaining about it. I complained about it myself to some degree. But then you remember, wait, my actions, my words, my thoughts contribute to the direction we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to go to the good place, then I better be prepared in the best way I can and contribute to its ease.
Absolutely. And what you're saying about not being a victim, I think is so important with that, that we take everything that is occurring and really package it, that it's all important. It all feeds what is coming next. There's nothing, I think that the universe is very ecological in that way, that everything is used to move forward. There's nothing that's extraneous. There's nothing that doesn't really help birth what's coming next. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah, even the grit, even the complications, even perhaps even those who are in victim mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
I am to some degree. It's not as easy as just turning it off. It takes practice. But I never thought of it that way, this way before. But when something comes into your life or someone comes into your life that is the least desirable situation, whether it's a relationship or a physical ailment or something tragic or even just something really uncomfortable, it's I think of it as like sand in an oyster shell.
Mm-hmm.
It's there
Mm-hmm.
because we have something to learn from it, and that's where our edges need refining to create
Exactly.
this ultimate pearl,
Hmm.
that we're hoping to co-create together.
And that's really what's being asked is, how to courageously be in those edges, to be on those edges and to really be awake in that process and not have it, whatever's going on be something that is happening to us, but something that we are actually co-creating and consciously participating in.
Courage. Yeah, I heard you say courage. And it does take courage to be on the edge of that, on that hard edge, not the comfortable where it's nice and safe, because we have
Hmm.
to go there. Otherwise, our mental health, will constantly be challenged. And we see that happening actually in a lot of places. So it's okay to remember and to bless those soft, warm edges that are comfortable.
Hmm.
But until we really are addressing the sharp edges or our shadow or whatever it is that needs that refining. Um, I equate it to being in a clean room. If we are going there, how clean are we going to be? If we're stepping into this space right now, we are in this liminal space, the space between what was and where we are, that we don't know where we're going, but we know we're on our way.
Hmm.
That space, we step into a clean room, which is where we are right now. We strip off all those contaminants. We work out all of our stuff. That's those hard edges.
Hmm.
And we can't work them out if we don't know where they're at. I mean, look what's happened in our country with the former administration. I mean, it's like, oh, okay. We see we have a lot more work to do than we thought we did. How do we, now we got to heal that because we can't go where we're going. I mean, you can look at it as a positive, right? We can see this and go, oh, okay, there, that's there to show us what we have more to heal before we can move on. So let's get that taken care of.
Right, absolutely. And just in general, what's being asked of us right now is something really pretty profound, which is just to be willing to be undone. And I like Bayo Okamalafe has a beautiful quote that I comes up in my mind often that says, um, is it playing outside it? Oh, thinking outside of the box is exactly how boxes think. And I, I like that idea because it's showing us that sometimes if you try to solve problems inside of the same consciousness that created them, that it doesn't work out that way. And so part of this courage during this time is being willing to let go of how we have been thinking and how we have been perceiving, that has created the structures that are falling apart. And so that's kind of a big ask, but I think that, those of us that are here are up for it.
Well, perhaps that's why they're here,
Yes.
because they're up for it. We talk a lot in my circles about patriarchy, and be really clear that's not a gender thing,
Hmm.
right? Um, that patriarchy set up those systems and those thought patterns and those assumptions. And one thing I love about my friend Connie Baxter Marlowe and Andrew Cameron Bailey's book, The Trust Frequency, is they remind us that not only is we live in a loving, generous universe, everything happens for us, not to us. That the practice to get to that understanding is one of them. One of them is to question assumptions.
Hmm.
The subtitle of their book is Assumptions for a New Paradigm.
Right.
Redefining assumptions, that's not it. Please pick up the book and you'll see it for yourself. I'm sorry. But really redefining those assumptions and noticing the assumptions,
Right.
noticing them. And that takes courage
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
intention to say, okay, I'm going to start paying attention. Oh, why is that have to be that way? Why do I don't have to think that way? Rather than running a tape in your head that this is just the way it is. So you have to kind of undo that habit.
And looking at all the places that we're really asleep in our normal routines, in our mental routines as well as our physical routines, and really being willing to be awake and to be clear about, what that is, I think as
Willing to be
well.
awake.
Yes.
I'm just checking Facebook. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to see if Connie had chimed in with the correct address. No, it's all right. Yeah. So, yeah, willing to be awake. That is that the awareness is so important.
Hmm.
And how do you practice that awareness? I talk about practicing art of listening, for example, the sacred art of listening. But it's not about practicing how to listen, it's practicing how to prepare to listen.
Hmm.
So it's practicing the intention to notice those assumptions as much as
Right.
it's practicing the intention to notice, are we truly listening to ourselves and to what's going on around us? It's pretty much the same thing. It requires sacred listening to notice the
Yeah, and
assumption.
I really like this word curiosity. We talked about that a little bit before the call. And I think that's a playful way to do it. Just kind of be curious about, your assumptions and the way that you normally go about things and kind of poke at it and play with it a little bit.
So I came across a poem of you. I mean, is it a poem, a prayer, a quote of yours? For me, it's a poem. You speak in poem. So, I mean, I was telling Lisa before this call that I could write a thesis on every sentence that she speaks because every sentence is so beautiful and potent, and it speaks such truth to power
Mhm.
and such a grace that, in such a beautiful poetic way. And I'm going, may I quote you? Can I read this?
Yes.
Okay. And this is I'm so glad you brought this up, and before I do, I'll just say that I really love exploring and paying attention to where I personally am. And this is also applicable for men, on the maiden mother crone archetypes. And one of the characteristics of the child, of the maiden, the child, is curiosity,
Mhm.
creativity, playfulness. And on occasion, and it's most possible, but you don't really hear a lot about this, that we should be and can be all three at once.
Yes.
We can be maternal and caring and discerning, while we're being creative and curious and anchored in a wisdom and a knowing that is impeccable and
Right.
in integrity, that wholeness of integrity. So that's the conditions of the maiden mother crone. And for me, this just speaks volumes to maiden mother crone wisdom that you share here. And I'm going to
Wandering
do my
is living curiosity in motion. It's the child in us that finds the surprise of discovery far more engaging than any predetermined destination. It's the child in us that knows that to ask, "Where am I?" or "How do I get there?" is to miss the crimson red flower growing out of the rock in the sidewalk. To the lost, this child is unfindable, knowing the sufficiency in every arising, the abundance ever presencing itself as a cosmic "Here I am." Today, I meet the beauty of the world on its own terms, allowing it to teach me its unique language, to remake and recreate me in the image of its divinity, that I may trust the new directionality ever present in my willingness to not know where I'm going. Being lost in the divine as she presents herself in every moment all around me is truly to be found.
website.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, that it does speak to this. These it has little hints in there of how do we get out of this way of thinking, that we're so programmed to, because we are really being asked to see differently, to hear differently, and we need, new eyes, new ears to be able to do that. And so these are little hints, and the child, as you were saying, I think has so much to teach us about that. To be playful, to be curious, to see a child out in the yard playing, they're not lost. They're not trying to get from point A to point B. They are totally immersed in the what's being presented to them right before their eyes. And that is that really sense of, here I am. I'm wherever I am just really fully there, and I cannot be lost.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. It really is. And it's compassionate. It's truly compassionate. You know, I think everybody can probably agree that we can tend to be hard on ourselves if we, on those days we feel lost. That mean we're lacking in sufficiency somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps it just means, no, we're doing exactly what we should be doing. We're dropping into a nothingness, which is an everythingness at the same time, right? We're willing and courageous to not know.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting. I was just thinking about when I was, my children were small and I just moved to Detroit. This is before GPS days. I've always been kind of directionally challenged. So I'd be driving for a while and my son would say, "Mother, are we lost?" Most of the time the answer was, well, I didn't know exactly where I was going. But we were never permanently lost. This is my response. And invariably, somebody would ask me, "Do you know how to get to such and such place?" And it would be the place that I went to in my wanderings. So it was, to me, just a real affirmation,
But were you
that
able to
we're,
tell them, or did they have to go and wander on their own? Were you
no, I
able
could
to,
tell it was
oh,
where,
okay.
because it was where I wasn't, planning to go there initially,
Yeah.
but that was part of my process of trying to find my way to my destination. And so it just affirmed that now I could tell them how to get to this place because of my own wanderings.
Oh, and so there you are, being the first follower, the courageous one to go out and take one for the team. And when my kids would ask me, "Are we lost?" I'd say, "Oh no, we're on an adventure.
Right.
I
Yes.
wanted to show you what was on this street, and I wanted to see what was around the corner, and I wanted to make 3 U-turns, because
Right.
they're fun
Yes.
to make." And so, but
They
we
are
got
fun.
there too.
Yes.
But don't ask me how we got there. Yeah. It was all in liminal space. It was all in that liminality.
Yes.
One thing that I love about your church is the community that it is. And, and that sort of brings us to the we oneing, which
Mhm.
I love is the acronym for two.
Yes.
Can you speak about that? Tell everyone what that is? We
Yeah,
one.
The We Wanting actually is a we space community for those who are familiar with that. And we are practicing what we consider conscious interbeing. And so this very much speaks to the space between. And just acknowledging that when two people are together, like when we're younger, we're told that every relationship has an angel, and I really like that. And so there's a sense of that. There is a collective presence and wisdom that is there in the relationship, and you can actually access and speak from it, and it's very, very powerful. So we have practices that we develop that are around that. And it's really teaching us how to be together as humans differently, because this helps us to move beyond, what our opinions are, and the aspects of our personality that may or may not normally work well together. That this is another way of connecting and being and accessing wisdom.
There's something about that relationality that is so powerful. I recently had a conversation about the question, what does it feel like when you were truly listened to?
Mm.
And when you're in relationality, you can be
Mm-hmm.
listened into, as the quote says, a condition of discovery and disclosure,
Mm-hmm.
which the
Mm-hmm.
quote goes on to say may very well be the most, this is a paraphrase, may very well be the greatest service one human being can perform for another.
Absolutely.
And when you're in that relationality and in this space, in this agreement, then it just opens up so many worlds and possibilities and discoveries and disclosures.
Well, you really can, through the quality of your own listening, draw out things from another person that normally wouldn't be able to come out. That's kind of part of what that gift is. It's kind of like, as a listener, that you are kind of a stand for that person in the world. Like you're this safe space that they can begin to really come out and be who they are created to be. So it is a very beautiful gift.
It's almost essential. It's almost, it's truly, I remember being at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Australia and being asked that question for the first time. It was the first time I heard the question, and we broke off into little pairs. And I was sitting on the floor talking to someone who I'd never met, this gentleman. And when I just dropped into answering the question. And before I knew it, I went to places I didn't even know existed, mm-hmm. and found out things about myself I didn't even know, just by sitting on the floor with a stranger, having been asked that question in a sacred manner, mm-hmm. in an environment that was safe, and then to be truly listened to.
Yeah,
it's really one of the most powerful experiences I think anybody can have, and loving experiences anybody can have, that we have to actually create the opportunities. So that's what Wanting does more than that. Your Wanting the project does more than that, but just the foundational principle of what you do is really, really important. I found this beautiful quote. Wanting described as interbeing, deep interconnection with everything we cannot be alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this is the place where that's really this accessing, as I was talking to you about, in terms of this collective beingness that we are. And what eventually happens, the more that you bring your consciousness there, is that there's a larger holding. Most of us are aware of our own limitations as individuals. But as you become aware of how you can come together in this way with other people, you really see there's a larger holding and a larger possibility. There's more that can happen. That's truly amazing, when you're with others in this type of way, where there's that type of listening that you described so beautifully, and where you're speaking, from this collective beingness that you are. Just whole new things begin to open up, new possibilities for how we can be human together. So I'm always very excited about this work.
New possibilities for how we can be together is so important. I've been an interfaith activist for 20 years. And this seems to be truly the one methodology that is proven and works and with measurable results.
Mm-hmm.
When you remember who you are as the human, and that you're here in relationship. So very, very powerful.
Yes.
Conscious shared space, I remember reading somewhere, and that is truly, it's intentional, shared space. It's truly beautiful. The website is wewanting.org. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll put that here and everywhere else, and this will be on YouTube too with all of that. There was another. Okay, so I don't know if you're just now tuning in or if I even mentioned this earlier, but Lisa holds these beautiful, digestible, but potent, rich meditation Mondays on Unity Las Vegas website. So just go to unitylasvegas.org. Is that it? Or Unity LV, I think.
Yeah, unitylasvegas.org. That's correct.
Las Vegas spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
And look for Meditation Mondays in their videos. Oh gosh, 6 minutes. They're 6-minute videos, and I feel like I have just done an hour, 2-hour meditation. Mm-hmm. Yet the little introduction leading up to it is, once again, I said this before, I believe everyone may have heard, I could write a thesis on the few minutes you spend introducing what the meditation is, where it's leading us. Mm-hmm. Just of which where I actually quoted you from, by the way. That was from the opening statement leading us into the meditation on wandering. This, and I won't read the whole quote because I did not transcribe it. And I can't read my writing when I do anyway, obviously. But I love what it was about, our relationship to the earth, our relationship to nature, the sacred nature of the earth and who we are. And if we listen with the right ears, we can hear the sacred nature of earth, breathing in this alchemy of earth and heaven, moving within your sense. This is so really remembering, yes, we are the bridge between earth and heaven, but at the same time we're all here together, is really incredible. And the only way to truly embrace what I am saying is to go to unitylv.org, lasvegas.org, and listen to that meditation and do that meditation. And I love that there's 6 minutes. Thank you.
And it reminds me of what you have in one of your chapters. I think your chapter on nature really speaks to this. The trees, plants, and grass that grow upon her are her hair. The stones and rocks are like her bones. The water and natural resources that flow in her are like her blood. Until we know her as a living, breathing being, it's only then that we can honor her. And I really think that that's what we're being called into, those of us that are, consciously really wanting to bring forth what's new. We have to be able to hold everything and to really be a full representation, of evolution to this point, which, really holds the earth, being able to really hold the heart of the earth, I think.
And while that sounds like a tall order, all we really have to do is shed that which no longer serves us, mm-hmm. and make room for that. For me, it just feels that easy. It could sound like a huge, massive responsibility, and it is. It's a responsibility. But it's our ability to respond, first of all. But it's not that heavy. It's not heavy lifting.
No, because this is who we already are. It's not like we have to, create something that's not already present, something that doesn't exist. We're kind of an evolutionary, we're, sons and daughters of the earth. We're, she's in our blood. We are her. And, so it's really, being awake to that and just allowing that to be alive in us, in our consciousness. That's really being asked for, which is nice. If we had to make it, I don't know if that would work too well, but
We're trying. We think we can.
If they acknowledge what's already true.
It's truly, and let me just say that quote that you beautifully read was I actually captured that off of a video that I was hosting with grandmother Flor de Mayo, and that is from Dene Elder Belinda Araccio, who is actually on Facebook. I'll have to tag her in this. So yeah, it's really beautiful. The biomimicry of nature, it like you say, it's that crimson red flower coming out of the sidewalk is shouting, "Here I am," and here you are.
Yeah.
And that mundane flower just growing out of the sidewalk is actually a miracle. And let's stop in the liminal space and smell it,
right?
And dream about it, and think about it, and wonder what it's going to grow into, and be in that creative, playful, curious place.
Yes, absolutely.
Because to be curious really takes vulnerability too, right? You have to kind of admit that you don't have the answers.
Right. And that's the key thing. Our culture, kind of teaches us that it's always better to know than not know, which unfortunately is a very unfortunate message. And so we, try to, if there's something that we don't know, we try to know. The whole idea is to know as much as we can, as opposed to live in the mystery of not knowing, which is so much more fruitful, especially for these times.
And that is patriarchy at play, right? That's just patriarchy's charms, telling us, or don't even listen to your own good sense. You learn this from somebody else and just repeat it, regurgitate it, but we can start questioning assumptions and being curious about, oh, wait, why? Is me driving this big fancy car, having all these fun things going to make my life better? Who spoon fed me that, and why did I believe it? And I did. I like nice things. I don't, but at the same time, is that what happiness is?
Right.
So it just as an example, you can tell that that's where I'm at right now in my journey, and where what I'm working on. Questioning assumptions everywhere. I mean, as kids, we try to question everything. Why is my favorite question a child asks? Or why do I have to be home by curfew? Or why can't I do this or that? And their parents were keeping you safe. But asking the questions now, we've been conditioned by that sort of patriarchy, which had its place to keep us safe. But it kind of seeped into other good senses that we discount. And, unfortunately, women are disproportionately impacted by that condition. And just because of the conditions of laws and so on. But I'm seeing a lot of women waking up too, and men. And I think Clay Boykin is watching us now. Hey, Clay. Clay Boykin is the founder of Circles of Men, and he's in search of the new compassionate male.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, so introduction on its way. And and so really talk about questioning assumptions. And and Clay has taught me really about being careful that I'm assuming that just because he says hi, just because when I referred to patriarchy, I have to clarify that I'm not just speaking about men.
Right. That's very important.
Are actually probably, as if in some cases, and I carefully say this, as victimized by patriarchy as well, or abused, and the pressure's on them. So I honor and respect Clay and invite everybody to clayboykin.com. And he has some great podcasts too. And by the way, I'm on one of them. So,
Yay. And the thing too is like with questions, even, loving the question. I love that. As opposed to question as a means only to get an answer. But what if you could really just continue in the play? What if a question, it's valid in and of itself, that opening, it's the gesture is an opening out to the universe, and what if that another question could come from a question? And, so that's a very different way than, okay, question is a means to end. We need an answer. Absolutely. Because there's something wrong with the question. As opposed to just continuing in that opening, an opening has occurred when you ask a question. What else is open now because of that? You kind of continue in that play.
Well, that kind of reminds me of the question that follows when what did it feel like when you truly felt listened to? And then ask, is there anything else that wants to be said? Because there usually is.
Mm-hmm.
Just continually asking the questions. And I have wired myself into a condition of understanding. Well, why? Well, why that? Well, why this? By the way, Reverend Jim Lee says hello. He's listening. Your ears have been ringing, I bet. Thank you all for being here in the live moment. So I just want to say how grateful I am to you, Lisa, for this conversation on liminality. When I wrote the Liminal Odyssey, I had no idea that liminality was on everyone's lips. I only had heard it once from Jean Shinoda Bolen as meaning threshold. I did not know that there were others. And immediately Reverend Bobby Becker of Namaste Center for Spiritual Living called me the day the book hadn't read it yet, just saw it that it was published, and said, can you come talk? Because we're talking about liminal space. And then to meet you, and it's like, we're doing all this talk around liminality. You're dedicating an entire week in June on liminality. So absolutely. It's time.
It is. I did the same thing. I saw the title of your book. I said, that's all I need to see. I'm getting the book. Of course, I love you. I would probably get it anyway, but
this is a book I hope people judge by its cover, because Catherine Skaggs' art is stunning, but the title, it does get you. So. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, but thank you for. I think this is. You mentioned that we have such a sacred relationship with Mother Earth, and just like teenagers, we often forget that we have a relationship with our mother in a profound way. Generally speaking, I don't speak for all, obviously, but generally speaking, and I've woken up to it. So some are still sleeping or wandering towards it, right?
Yes.
And that at the same time, she's, saying some pretty profound things right now. Like, go to your room for a couple of years and figure this out. Yeah.
Yes.
Or I'm going to, I'm taking away your drinking privileges.
Well, I think we definitely kind of have that teenager relationship with Mother Earth right now. Very much so. But I guess I, with all of that, I still have a very positive, view that, how she is, and she's robust enough to really hold who we are. And I don't think it's a mistake where we are right now, even with all the shadow elements. And I think, all of this, as we talked in the beginning, is going to really serve what's next for us. And I think we're going to all come through in an amazing way. And I'm excited about it.
I have had enough sucker punches to the stomach, and soccer punches, actually. I have. I'm a soccer mom. To go through a couple more decades, and in Kairos time, as Aristotle puts it, in Kairos time, the truth is revealed. In Kairos time, to see that it was all in divine order. So why is this time any different? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being at my table. I just wish I could feed you. This is what I have to figure out. I may have to start mailing all my guests food, so at least I can say I fed you, because you're coming into a Jewish home. You have to be fed. Make sure you have
Well,
everything you
I
need.
am always fed in your presence, Sandy. So
Thank you.
thank you.
And you nourish me. You nourish me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, Facebook community, for being here right now.
Yeah.